Okay, so I always wonder what is it like to live in one of those expensive communities in China, and that's what I'm going to show you today. My apartment. Welcome to my apartment in China. Woo, let me show you the view here a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed that intro. All right, so if you're new here, my name is Mario, and I want to make videos about what is it like to live in China. Like really, not like my doctor in China cured my cancer in 15 seconds. Not that type of video. Uh, Frankly, I'm tired of those. So um, I'm gonna show you what this place looks like and what it is worth. So it costs 7,000. Let me here. All right, so it costs 7,000 RMB, 7,200 RMB. That's what I'm paying for this apartment. Not your typical apartment, not your typical price. This is probably a little bit more expensive than what most people would look for when they're moving in, especially if you're like one person living in an apartment like I am. Okay, so I'm one single person living here. But this is what you get more or less. Like I love the balcony first of all because it has no cages. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of cages in in China. I like to call them that, but a lot of them they're for security for the typhoons. There's a lot of typhoons in this area of China and Shenzhen and Guangdong in general. So sometimes they have to use those reinforcements on the windows so that things don't blow up. I learned that the hard way, but I didn't. I don't know why I say that, but I didn't learn the highway. Anyway, I don't like those. So if you're like me, you're gonna prefer something like that. Now this is the kitchen. Very normal stuff. This kitchen actually never really worked very well. So, but the community is a really good community, and the reason why I chose this place as it is mostly was the community. I personally wanted to be in a place where people made more money than me, and like every family living here. I mean, I would assume at least they make more money than me, and I got to meet some of them, and because you know that's what I did. I like to socialize with my neighbors. Call me weird, but I like that. So I did that in many occasions as I did. Now you're gonna see here my bedroom looks kind of empty, and the reason why is because I use a shiki futon instead of a bed. You might have seen my previous video on that. So what that looks like it's basically tatami pieces like this. I like to have the tatami in pieces, not one large thing that kind of covers the room. I don't like that. I like pieces that you can like play with, put them in different positions, if you will, and because you can also use this for later on for different things. This is kind of like a me thing, kind of like a weird thing, perhaps. I love this, but and I'm never going back to a traditional bed because this is just so much better. It gets you your discipline of making your bed, and you got you got your bed right there. You got boom. Now you have your blanket, and then off you go. And then you have your pillow, and pillow's over here. And something I've grown impossible to sleep with is this sleeping mask, bro. I gotta have that. I don't know why it became such a clutch. I even though I have like black curtains to block all the light, and they're amazing. They block all of the light. I for some reason I can't sleep with a sleeping mask. I don't know why. So this is the other room that you get in this apartment. Again, I'm not saying that every apartment is the same. And normally, this is a bedroom. I turned it into a studio because I make videos. So I made plenty of videos here as a talking head videos and product videos. They were awesome. Let me tell you a little bit more about my neighbors in a bit. So yeah, this is a very nice space. Very hot room, I gotta say. This room gets very hot because it's exposed and the sun falls over there, and the glass makes it so much hotter. And also, it doesn't make it ideal for a studio because the sound isn't great. There's a lot of bouncing, as you maybe can hear. There's a lot of bouncing from the glass, so the audio gets kind of like blah. But you know, it's okay. This is the bathroom, pretty standard. I don't know if it's pretty standard. It's pretty big, to be honest. This is the biggest bathroom I've ever had in China, and the cleanest, and I like it. It's good. It's good. And now let me tell you why I chose a place like this instead of a $4,000 RMB apartment, and why now I'm moving to a 4,000 RMB apartment. So basically, I wanted to be surrounded by people who make more money than me. And I wanted to see and experience that. And I wanted to try to meet many people who do that. Did I end up meeting a lot of people like this? Not really. No. But I got to meet at least all of my neighbors and some other families of different floors and some other people from the community as well. I wouldn't say a lot of people, but at least all of my neighbors I know. And what I would advise people if they come to live in China is that they introduce themselves to the neighbors. I don't know. For me, I like to I like to introduce myself to the neighbors. I like to know who they are, and I like to kind of like maybe you need a favor sometime, kind of like a pick up a ID or some stuff, and like you know. So for me, what I did, and this is a trick that you can use if you're kind of like socially nervous, and talking to your neighbors makes you kind of nervous. Well, the first thing I did, I started asking everybody. I started like saying like good morning very loudly in the elevator, and which is kind of like a pattern interrupt, you would say, in communication, because everybody is just maybe they say like "cao cao," and I will be like the guy who's just like "cao shang hao." Super awkward, super like movie ad foreigners speak, something like that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoy kind of like breaking patterns like that. It was like I'm not hurting anybody. If anything, giving people an opportunity to laugh at my ridiculousness, social awkwardness and stuff. But anyway, that's what I did. Eventually, I got to meet one of the neighbors, and I asked her to be my Chinese teacher, and that is awesome. If you can get a Chinese teacher as a neighbor, that is so much better than going to class, because that means that you can practically have class every day. I would have classes with her every day for half an hour, and it helped me a lot. But we didn't continue every day. I got tired, but regardless, like I got a teacher from the same building. That was awesome. Second thing I did also, thanks to my neighbors, is I found my IE. I like to, get people recommended by other people rather than searching people from the app, which you can very easily get people from the app if you are in China. If you're familiar with an app called Zhaoji IE, this is an app where you can look for a cleaner, and the cleaner comes to your house and they clean the house for like this 2 hours, and it costs like 100 RMB for 2 hours. This is the standard price in the industry, whatever, of the cleaners, which is insane. If you can get your house clean for 100 RMB in this case, I mean, I would take that deal, no questions asked. I know that's very different from a place where I grew up, Argentina, but I would never go back to like not having someone helping me out with the cleaning at least once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks or so. And the other thing you can do with Anae is if you're someone like me who likes very simple food, which is not complicated to do. I would record myself. I have videos of me cooking the food that I want, which is honestly, it's just like chopped up onions with chicken. That's all. A couple of vegetables and chicken in there. That's all. And then I would send those videos to the IE, and the IE would like cook for me and put those things on the fridge as a meal prep. So if you're into something like that, I know most Chinese people hate that because Chinese people love like fresh food and everything is like artistic when it comes to food. But if you like simple food and stuff like that, it's an initial work to do. They might not get it 100% like you want it, but bro, it's you're saving so much time that yeah, I would recommend that 1,000%, 1,000 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10. I would recommend that. So those are my recommendations for somebody who wants to live in China. Number one, talk to your neighbors. Okay, they will recommend you an IE. They could end up being your Chinese teacher. You're gonna end up paying less. You're gonna have been having more classes. I actually joined yoga classes on this community. Big communities like this tend to have like businesses on different floors, like cute cafes and stuff like that. I met business owners that have different products in here. So living in a community like this, it can kind of give you that app edge. And one thing that I didn't do that I might have do if I come back to a place like this is teach, because I used to be a teacher for many years, and it would have been so easy for me to transform this into a little training center for like 1 or 2 hours a day where I can teach children some English and some skills. And yeah, that would have probably bring my rent down like by 50% or even cover my rent if I did that for like a week out of the month. I didn't do that because I was more focused on something else, and I'm glad I didn't do that. But that is an option for most people who come here. That is always an option in China because the demand will never meet the supply, or the other way around. The supply will never meet the demand. So there you have it. If you want to live in a place like this, you're looking possibly at a 7,000 RMB. This is in the north of Shenzhen. This is Longhua, Hongshan, and this community is called Laimeng, Shui Tian, something like that. And there's many like this. In my opinion, in this area, this is by far the prettiest, the one with the most green, the one with the most space and like space to walk inside and stuff. It's got a Walmart down there. It does have a lot of restaurant options nearby. For some people that's important. You gotta walk a little bit more to the shopping mall if you want that. It's got the metro with 2 lines nearby. It's awesome. Yeah. And the way that I got in this apartment was also by doing the same thing that I was recommended people to do with the neighbors, which is actually go outside, talk to people. Because I went outside and I actually looked up at the thing on the map and I said, okay, I like this area. And then I just waited around the place outside and I looked for people who looked like they lived in here. And then I went up to them and said, hey, do you live in here? Do you know anybody renting a place? I ended up in some groups. Long story short, I met the landlord through the groups, and then boom, you got your rent. That way, you can also save some fees on the agency. That's pretty cool. So, anyway, talking to people, I think it gives you a lot of power, a lot of leverage, especially here in China, because a lot of people don't dare to talk to people for some reason. Maybe it's a world thing. And I want the world to become more human and more connected, like more human to human talk rather than talking to ChatGPT. That's it. Done.